We've always believed that you should own your own data. In fact, we try to encourage that with our data retention policy of a day or 3 days or 7 days, depending on your plan, to encourage you to own your data so you can do things like custom analytics, your own automations, and importantly, stay compliant with whatever your industry regulations are. Today, I'm excited to announce the Webhook Ingester. This is a self-hosted solution that grabs all your webhook data and stores it for you in your own database. Now, webhooks are obviously a powerful way to react to email events or contact events or domain events, but previously storing them and querying them meant building out your own infrastructure and thinking about things like handling retries, idempotency, deduplication, persistence, and any edge cases. So today what we've done is thought about the kind of perfect DX solution for you to start owning your own data and handling that yourself. As we look to tighten our policy to what's stated, we want to make this as easy as possible. And today I want to show you how to get started with Supabase. All right, so let's jump in over here. And first of all, I just want to point you to this resource for storing webhook data. If you're wondering, do I need to? Why would I need to? We try to walk through some solutions of like why it's important for this to take place. And if you want to roll this yourself, you're more than welcome to, but you probably want to consider some of these things like how long to keep the data, different privacy considerations, your own storage costs. So we're trying to kind of guide you. And if you say, you know what, I'm sold, I'm ready to do this, show me how. Well, we've got a one-click solution called this Webhook Ingester. That's what we're announcing today. And if I jump up top here, you can actually jump out to it right here. And this is also in our docs. This is under our webhook events. We'll walk you through kind of setting this up yourself. And that's actually what I want to do today. All right, so first of all, I've got this pulled up in my code editor. You can see that we've got a one-click solution to deploy this on Vercel or Railway or Render. There's also a Docker image as well if you want to use that. And it's really easy to get started with. What I've done is just kind of previewed what we have here. So you've got Supabase, PostgreSQL, MySQL, a bunch of options that, again, we've kind of built in already for you with a lot of this logic ready for you to just use right away. You can, of course, store any email events or any contact events or any domain events, anything you can set up a webhook on. And to get started, it's super easy. I've done this so far, which is just to clone the repository, move into it, and install. And that's what we've got pulled up right here. So once I've installed this, the next thing we need to do is just copy over these environment variables. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this will copy the example over to a local file, which we'll look at in just a second. Now, the last thing you need to do is literally just pass along your schema, which requires you have some kind of database set up. I'll show you how to do that with Supabase today, but all the rest of these are just as easy. And if I were to open the sidebar over here, let's see, we've got all these schemas right here, and you're just going to find the SQL that relates to yours. So in my case, I'm looking at Supabase right here. So I'm just going to grab all of this, and we're going to copy this and use it to set up all these tables in my own Supabase project. Now, all we have to do is set up a Supabase project and use this to define the table structure. So let's go ahead and create a new project. We'll just call this something like Webhooks Ingester, and then I'll generate a password and click Create New Project. Now, we actually have a whole testing suite as well available. I'm going to skip that today just to show you the most basic implementation, but just to let you know, we've tried to think of everything from a developer experience standpoint to make this super easy on you. All right, so now all I have to do is come into the SQL editor. We're just going to add all this and run it. So this will create all the structures I need in my database. And I can see that. In fact, if I come over here, we've got all three of these here. Now, obviously, you probably want to add RSL, so that way you've got some security enabled as well. But again, I'm just going to keep this as light as possible today. So I'll come back over here to the project overview because we are going to need this project URL to add to our env variables. In fact, if I jump back over and we open up that copied file, this env local, you'll see we need that right here. And then I'm also going to need the Supabase service role key. And this obviously you want to keep private as well. And I can get that by coming over to the project settings, and let's go to API keys. And then I'll go to service role keys over here. We're just going to reveal and copy this. Obviously, you should not share this with anyone else, and I will delete this before you see it. Okay, so back over this way, let's go ahead and add this one in right here. And then the last thing we'll need is this webhook secret. Now, if you're using another service like PostgreSQL, MySQL, etc., you can see the instructions there, and you would need to use the SQL file or whatever it happens to be for your service. All right, so back up top, I will need this in a second, but first let's get this project up and running so that I can grab a local URL and add it as a webhook in Resend. What I'm going to do is start this up with npm run dev. This will get the dev server up and running, and I can just go to whatever the URL is, like for instance, whatever the 3000 is, /Supabase in this case, whatever that happens to be for you. You can find it actually by just looking in the src, app directory right here. Whatever one yours happens to be, just go there. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Supabase one. You can see it's just got a route here where it's going to handle that webhook event for us, or anything that's sent to that webhook event. Now, in order to get this in Resend, I need to have a publicly addressable URL, which means I either need to publish this live on the web, or I can just use something like ngrok for now to test this in dev mode. So that's what I'm going to do. So we'll come over here. I'm going to do ngrok HTTP 3,000, and you'll just need to have a free Ngrok account. That should work just fine for you. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Here, we're going to use this in a second when we set this up in Resend. So I'll paste that in, and then let's just add Supabase like this. And that way it's going to the Supabase route in particular. That's where I'm handling all my Webhook events. Now for me, I'm just going to select all the events so I can capture all my data and store it in Supabase, and I'll go ahead and add this. Now, I mentioned a moment ago, we need one more thing from Resend, and that is our secret key. This signing secret allows us to make sure that any requests coming to this endpoint come from Resend, and that is a security best practice. So back over in the env local file, I'm just going to replace this right here with the Supabase webhook secret. All right, now just to make sure everything is working properly, let me close this down. And I'm doing this in part because if you're running a local instance of Ngrok, you may find that as you restart your dev server, it actually changes the URL here. So it's really important to make sure that whatever your URL is the one we're using in Resend. So back over in Resend here, I can edit the endpoint, and let's just update this URL like this. And now anything coming to this one, which is the new Ngrok server I have set up, will work. Now that's also the same way you'd go from this dev mode to production. Once you go live, you can use your own base site /Supabase to capture all those webhook events. Okay, so now that I've got this, it's up and running. That means I'm capturing all these events, which should be stored in Supabase. So let's go ahead and do some stuff that we know might help. So we can come over here to here. We can add a new domain like updates.example.com. It doesn't really matter because I'm not going to actually add this. It's just the instance of adding this should hit that webhook. Now I'll also come to my audience, and let's do the same thing. We're going to come and say Chris, supabase@resend.com, and I'll add a new contact. Now you can also send emails as well. That would do the same thing, but any email event, any contact event, or any database or domain event should be captured in my database now. So let's go back over to the webhooks. We should be able to open this up, and there you go. You see contact created. So I'm not seeing the domain one, and I think that's because I have to actually hit that I verified the domain, which I haven't done here. So I have to add these records first, etc. But verified DNS, there we go. So that should actually trigger this as well, which should hit this event and store that in my database. So let's go ahead and first of all, check this in our project. So if I go over to the table editor, you're now going to see that I've got this stored as an actual contact created event. Now I could delete it and have the exact same instance happen. So I'd store it in here as well. So let's come over here and maybe let's delete that contact. So I'll come back over here. Let's delete the contact. And that way this should capture as well. Again, the real benefit here is you own your own data and you can do your own analytics. You can figure out when certain events happened and store all that alongside your data in your own database. All right, so back over to the webhook events. Let's see what happens if I come over here. Yeah, we got the domain created. You can see that happened right over here. And we've also now got the contact deleted, received true. So once again, let's go over here. Let's refresh and we should see both of these. So here's the contact deleted and here's the domain events as well, the domain created and all the details that come along with that. So again, this is super powerful because it's essentially a one-click installation. I was going to do the one-click install, but I figured that was too fast and the video would be over in 10 seconds. So hopefully this helps to kind of show in real time how you might set this up using Supabase. Obviously, again, make sure that you enable role leverage security as well, so you can handle those events securely in your own database. But you can see that now that you have all that data, you can process that however you want, store it as long as you need to for your own data retention policy. Well, I hope this Webhook Ingester is the kind of DX you expect from Resend. And I hope it encourages you to start to own your own data and abide by your own compliance, do your own automations, and a bunch more. Well, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Happy emailing.